Hello, welcome to Executive Talk. My name is Maurice Washington. I want to welcome all those that are watching online and those that are watching live right now and those that will watch the show later. Welcome to Executive Talk. Today's segment is part 3 of the annual revenues. We've been in a series talking about the annual revenues and, truth be told, the impact of it all. Today's show is called The Numbers, and we're really going to tie up the series and help everything make sense. So really the true aspect of it is the annual revenues is an extremely important part of your business. Obviously, it's in your business plan. All of the thoughts and ideas and everything, all your movements day to day has one point of view, which is, of course, your reputation, but at the same time, you're aiming towards your annual revenues. So it's an important aspect of your business. So I feel like it's very important for us to actually really talk about the whole perspective. And when I mean the whole perspective is, I think the annual revenues is bigger than just the numbers. I think the annual revenue has a level of emotion behind it. So from that perspective is our first 2 series is we talked about the want versus the desire. So in our first series, we talked about the want. What exactly does it mean to want $100,000? Is there a difference? When you want something, is there a difference in your movements? And especially when it comes to your business. Is there a difference in your movements? Say, hey, I want $100,000. Okay, do you just race, and then nothing gets accomplished? Or do you race, and then the next year you're having to do that over and over again? Or are you doing it from a desire perspective, where you see the plan of action? You are looking at your one-to-ones. You're looking at everything that you do from a different perspective. And also you're taking your cues as you're going along. So what's the difference between the want and the desire? And if you haven't seen those shows, I invite you to go look at those shows so that way you guys can understand where I'm going with this particular segment. But today let's talk about the numbers, and we're just going to really fine-tune how it looks at the end of the year. So this is how it looks for business owners. When we make goals, when we make resolutions, this is typically what we say when we meet with people. When we talk to our significant other, when we talk to our business owners and our associates, when we're out there marketing, when we're giving our elevator speech, one thing that we say is, hey, I would like to earn $100,000 by the end of the year. Now, specifically, there's nothing wrong with that statement. You're aiming for the stars. It sounds, so as a receiver, it sounds like, hey, you're really pushing for it. $100,000 and saying this particular statement is not the problem. So why am I bringing this up? Why is it potentially a problem? How could that particular statement be setting you back in your day-to-day activities right now, year to date? The number is great from a want perspective. That's actually first and foremost. From a want perspective, I say I would like $100,000. There's nothing wrong with that. I want that. But think about this statement. And as you know, there's a lot of power in words. So let's just take the statement, I would like. So I would like to go to the gym later. Doesn't know if that doesn't really mean I'm actually going or not. Okay, it really has no impact. There's a level of I have an out at the end of the day. I would like to, but if you don't go, you don't feel bad about it. So that's the difference in this particular statement is you're already starting the statement off with I would like, which tells you, well, I would like to, but if I don't, I don't expect to, but there's a difference in how you actually feel about it emotionally. So as a receiver, when they're receiving this particular statement, they're looking at you like, well, that sounds good. Yeah, that sounds like a great goal, but you don't sound too for sure about it yourself. So again, there's a lot of power in words. And from a want perspective, this is the power of this particular statement. So it is powerful. It makes sense. But even the drive towards I would like 100,000 by the end of the year makes your efforts not so good. Sometimes your efforts are great that day. Sometimes you're really going hard. Maybe let's say you have a wonderful month. So now that you're on the track towards your 100,000, well, maybe you forget, I'm going to lay off next month and just go on a couple of vacations and hey, life is good. I'll be able to pick up whenever I want to because I'm doing so well right now. That's what I would like actually set you up for when it comes to your business. So we got to be careful of those words because from a one perspective, it sounds good, but there's a lot of casualties within that one perspective and that drive behind it. And secondly, business owners are not allowed to have that goal. Now, why is that? That sounds like a very weird statement. Nobody says, I'm not, why is that statement, why am I not allowed? I'm a business owner. If I want that, you're right, correct. You can have that number. But you're not allowed to have that type of goal because that type of goal is actually specific for a 1099 contractor. A 1099 contractor can earn, they can pay taxes, and also keep the rest, right? At the end of the year, they don't have quarterly taxes. They get a 1099 contract for all the companies that they're contracting for in order to offer their business. They get a 1099 statement at the end of the year, they report that, and they keep the rest, don't they? So 1099 contractors can have that particular number because their aim is to sell to earn $100,000 each year. You have the same aim, but you have different responsibilities. So therefore, even saying that statement, you cannot truly make that statement and go with it because you're already actually setting yourself up for failure. You have to have your business goal in the right context. So let me show you what that right context would look like in my opinion. So in my opinion, the way that I'm looking at it is my desire is to gross $185,000 and to net $95,000 by the end of 2015. Now think about that statement for a moment and think about if somebody was sitting in front of you and said that statement. Sounds weird, number one. Number two, nobody actually sits in a face-to-face conversation and says, my desire is to gross $185,000 and to net $95,000 by the end of 2015. Nobody does that. I get that. It's a lot easier to go straight to the point and say, yes, I would like to earn $100,000 by the end of the year. So, but as a business owner, think about if you did hear that on a regular basis. You're sitting down at a one-to-one, you're at your favorite coffee shop, and you say, you know what? So what's your goals by the end of 2015? Well, and that person said, my desire is to gross $185,000 and to net $95,000 by the end of 2015. Think about that statement for a minute. Think about how you feel. Are you shocked? Are you thinking, wow, that business owner really knows their business. They actually have a specific arena that they're headed towards. I don't care if they're a month in business, what you're thinking is maybe they have a business degree. Their movements or their plans are already set forward for them. They know exactly where they're headed. That's the impact of the words, and that's the impact of this particular statement that you're providing to somebody else that's listening to you. And also, most importantly, these are the words that you're providing to yourself. Because if you come at it from my desire is to gross 185 and net 95 by the end of the year, it's one of those statements of, you know what? I really have some work to do. I need to set my business up in a way so where I can gross 185 and also net 95 by the end of the year. You're setting your business up for success. Your mindset is specific. You can't go from that. 100,000, I would like to earn 100,000 by the end of the year. It gives you too many outs. This tells you I have a specific goal, I have a specific lane. It is my drive. And people that are around you will support you in that because they feel like you know exactly what you're doing and what you're aiming for, and they would like to be part of that. And you yourself feel confident in your number and your abilities, and that helps other people feel confident in themselves and their abilities with you. So business owners' resolutions, goals or resolutions, always have to include gross and net. So remember that all your resolutions have to include gross and net. So each year, so this year, I gross XYZ and I netted this much. So next year, in order to reach this particular goal in this direction, I need to gross this much and then net this much. You have to be able to distinguish the gross and net every single year, and that's the way that your business should go as far as direction is concerned, so people can feel, and also most importantly, you feel like that's necessary and you feel aligned. You feel set in stone. You know exactly where you're going. That's what you yourself need to feel. So let's break down the scenario again. My, which is you, desire, the proper placement of the resolution. And again, I invite you to go back and see the show regarding desire and what we're talking about in there. But it's a proper placement of the resolution. Gross. It clearly identifies the gross revenue, that you know your gross revenue number. You know that's the big overall number, but you understand within a gross number, there's a breakdown process, isn't there? There's bills that need to be paid. Net, clearly defined personal revenue goals. So you know exactly where you need to be personally as well. That's the most important aspect when it comes down to breaking down your annual numbers. So it's bigger than just putting on the sheet of paper as far as your business plan is concerned. You need to allow yourself the opportunity to feel like, for one, you can achieve it. You're providing yourself directions. You're providing others with a level of clarity that you know exactly what you're doing. That's what this particular statement does for you. So let's go ahead and go into this, and let's go ahead and break down a particular scenario. Let's break down our resolution of $185,000 gross. So that's the gross of $185,000. And let's say you net approximately $95,000. Now, again, talk to your accountant. This is just an example. We're not talking about this is the exact number, but just approximately that's your goal, that's your resolution. So to gross your gross revenue of $185,000, let's take your business expenses. Because it does not matter what number you achieve, it matters what you can pay for and how you can constantly function in that business. So let's think about your marketing. So for this particular business, he or she needs $10,000 a year for their annual marketing budget. That pays for that sales rep that can work 24 hours a day when you can't. So while you're asleep, your business is still working. So you decided to put aside $10,000 a year for your marketing. So what about employee salaries? Okay, so $60,000, let's say that's two people at $30,000 a year. So you chose for this $30,000 a year for each person 2 admin assistants, which is just fine. So let's think about alternative business expenses. You have your ink, you have your toner, office supplies. Let's say you have your HR, your merchant services, your payroll services, all those services in order to function. And of course, it's probably give or take a few dollars here and there. But just as an example, let's say this is where that number sits. And of course, you can't forget the favorite taxes. And let's say taxes at $185 was about $38,000 total. So in order to run your business, the way that you're looking to, your business costs you $121,000 a year to run your business. That's your marketing, employee, business expenses, taxes, and of course there's probably some missing here and there. But overall, this is how much it costs to run your business. So you know specifically $185,000 is your number. So let's take it from a net profit perspective. Okay, so in this particular scenario, since your business costs you $121,000, your net profit is now $64,000. That's the part that you're able to take home. But you have to remember, and this is very obvious, but then, typically when we're as business owners, we don't break down our personal scenario as if it exists sometimes. We just know, well, as long as we have enough money to pay for it, we're good. That's actually not the right mindset. How much does it cost for you to run your own personal household? So when you do your annual revenue number as a business owner, maybe you need to have at least minimum $64,000. So with that being said, let's break down this situation. Let's say the mortgage and maintenance for this particular person is $1,200 a month. So you have $14,400 a year. So $14,400 a year in order to pay for their mortgage. That's what it looks like. So let's say this particular person is about $5,000, for a year for maintenance. That's your lawn care, that's roofing, that's any issue that you have. So that's $19,400 total for the year. That's how much that house costs for that particular person. Now in this particular scenario, their car, maintenance, and also insurance. So with all that included, you have $5,200 it costs you $5,200 in order to maintain your car, your vehicle. Okay, and let's take the scenario from a perspective of you have to handle all of it. Your business, you have to handle all of it. You're running the ship. So what about the health insurance? What if it costs you about $2,000 because you have a family? It costs you about $2,000 a month in order to pay for it. So that's $24,000 on an annual budget. Say kids. Kids always come with an expense. Fun to have, but obviously, again, they come with an expense. So let's say they cost you, which it could be small, $10,000 a year. So your kids cost you $10,000. That's school, clothes, everything else that's needed for kids. So your total personal expenses cost you $58,600 a year. So right now, your net profit of $64,000 is actually right on cue because it allows you a level of savings that it gives you about $4,000 or so of wiggle room that you have. Now, of course, I'm probably missing a lot of things in here, but that's okay. But you get the example of it all. There's clarity in this scenario. I know that my $185,000 in my gross revenue sales is specific because I'm able to pay my $121,000 in my business expenses for my business. And also my net profits is right on cue because my total personal expenses are $58,000. So it's spot on for a particular scenario. We'll get to that in a second. So let's break down that on an annual basis. On an annual basis, that $185,000, what that tells you as a business owner, and this is that extra breakdown that we as business owners don't typically go to. So the extra breakdown is at $185,000. That means in 4 quarters, I need to make $46,250 per quarter. That tells you your specific target. You're a targeted business owner. You know exactly where you need to go, what's next, and what that month and the quarter needs to look like. So on a monthly basis, in order to pay for all your expenses and keep everything good, it's going to cost you so you need to earn $15,416 every single month in order to reach your goal. That's the specific on knowing your number. Knowing that number will help your day-to-day activity and all your decisions so much. So let's talk about the clarity. Okay, one of our shows that we just had regarding the desire, we talked about that number just enough, more than enough, and also way more than enough. What exactly does that mean? So in that particular scenario, if that was your scenario, would that be just enough to have $5,000 kind of left over by the end of the year? Does that tell you that everything is good? What does that tell you specifically? And everybody has their own specific scenario, so just think about it for a moment in your scenario. What would that more than enough be? So if you know 185 made sense in this particular scenario for you, and it just got you just enough, well, how much would you need to make in order to have more than enough? Do you need an extra cushion to maybe $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 right there? Or is it way more than enough? What is your way more than enough number where you're just at the top of your goal and that you're able to have maybe 20, 30, 45, 40 to 50 extra $1,000 in your bank account a year? Know that number so you can have specific ways of doing business. And also provide staffing solutions and decisions. So let's think about this scenario. Right now, I chose to spend with this particular situation $60,000 on 2 admin assistants. Okay, as a business owner, this is where you have fun and flexibility. Maybe it takes you to hire 1 admin assistant, maybe that first year, maybe for over a 3-year period. Yes, it may be tight. You may wear a lot of hats. But by the third year with that extra 30,000, what can you do to accumulate that? Could you possibly do, times three, $90,000, maybe invest that money annually and double it, so that way you can actually hire a sales force? Or is your first hire a salesperson that they go out and they're able to drum up business to help you increase that number, so that way you have more flexibility and you're still able to save that? That's what knowing your numbers and being able to look at your annual budgets on what your business expenses are, it allows you that opportunity to know exactly what decisions, and those are the flexibilities and questions and opportunities that you have to make. So absolutely make them, and that's the clarity that it provides. Savings. What exactly do you need to save per year? Business owners, we take a lot of time thinking about what exactly do we need to earn by the end of the year. But think about it from this perspective. It's not, you can earn as much as you can, but if you have nothing else savings-wise to make moves to purchase things when opportunities come to your table, it's not always the best scenario. So make sure that you have your savings in a place where you can make moves. Okay, what extra can you afford? What else do you need to afford for your business? That's what 185 and knowing that number really brings to the table. We also need to know what exactly is that number going to, you need to know your exit date. From an exit date point of view, you need to know that your business is an investment. One of our previous shows, we talked about your business being an investment. If you're able to consistently hit this 185 to 385 and just constantly grow that number, when we talk about the valuation and you're looking at the sale of your business and that particular movement at 5 to 10 years from now, that number means that. That's actually really kind of the nuts and bolts of it. It's for the exit date. So that way when you go to a bank and you need a loan, you go to your credit union, you need a loan, you have a number that shows foundational strength, that you are actually prospering as a business. They feel comfortable providing you extra income so you can make more moves. But also on a future date, you have that exit date and you know that, hey, my business is actually worth something. That's really the mindset that you want behind your business. Is the 185,000 is more than just an annual number, but what is that going to do for me in the future? I submit to you a couple of things here. When we think about the annual revenues as business owners, we really want to think that there's a magic trick behind it, that there's a particular scenario when business owners, we think that we're just going to go out there and just going to make these sales happen. And one thing I've learned as a business owner is as you're going out there, it all requires a mindset when it boils down to the annual revenues. Every last bit of it. Good day, bad day, everything, it all boils down. But one thing that we don't want to forget when we're aiming towards our annual revenues is don't forget about the important ones. There is work-life balance when it comes to annual revenues and really achieving these goals. Make sure you have time for your family. Make sure you have time for your health. Make sure that you're smiling. Make sure you're having fun while doing your business, most importantly. Make the money, earn the revenues, be a millionaire, whatever your case is, but make sure that you are enjoying every last bit of it, because ultimately it is your business. There's nobody to report to. It is all you. But make sure all those people, make sure your clients enjoy your business because you enjoy your business. That's what being a business owner is mainly about. In these annual revenues, and we typically forget those because, again, we're so caught up in the day-to-day. There are hard times. There are good times. But ultimately, it's about serving our clients and allowing them to benefit off of our particular talents. And that's why I want to submit to you today is that it's about the clients and it's about enjoying your family and setting up a exit plan for you and your family. So really consider that when you're out here and you're working your butts off for your 185 or whatever the number is, but make sure that you have the right perspective so you can really tackle this issue in your life and your business. I want to welcome everybody to visit our social media under Facebook under Executive Talk, and also Twitter under Exec Talk. We have a meetup group under Executive Business Talk TV show, and also a LinkedIn profile. Look up Maurice Washington. And let's go ahead and connect and just keep the conversation going. But join us next week because we're going to talk about the sales conversation. What exactly goes in the sales conversation and what do we need to talk about? So I look forward to seeing you guys next week, and thank you for showing up, but I have to go back to work. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.